Top of the morning to you, I'm Dave Evans, and coming up on the next half hour of 999, we're in the Emerald Isle part of town, and hopefully with a little bit of the luck of the Irish on our side, we'll find some great things to do for under 10 bucks. All that's coming up next. Welcome to 999, the show that takes you to great spots around town that are either free, inexpensive, but are always less than $10. Today we're in the Big Apple's own Little Ireland in the Bronx. Now there's plenty to see and do, and we're doing it on the cheap, so get ready.
Walking the streets of this quaint neighborhood in the Bronx is almost like visiting Dublin, Ireland itself. In the next 30 minutes, we'll visit Woodlawn, an area affectionately known as Little Ireland. Straddling the boundaries of Westchester County and Van Cortlandt Park in the northernmost point of the Bronx, you can reach it by taking the number 2 or 5 subway lines or the bus. This neighborhood is noted for being a small community of Irish immigrants. And unlike most neighborhoods in the city, Little Ireland has managed to keep its unique character from earlier times.
Today we're going to experience everything that makes Little Ireland unique and fun, from its breathtaking beauty to the culture that defines it. And every stop I make today won't cost more than $9.99, guaranteed. My first stop today in Little Ireland is one of the most beautiful locations in the 5 boroughs. It's half the size of Central Park, and it's home to an amazing array of architecture and beautiful landscaping. It's also home to the memorial of so many famous New Yorkers, from 6 mayors to jazz greats.
In the early 1800s, Woodlawn was primarily farmland, but with the construction of the Harlem Railroad, the area began to grow. Expansion continued in 1863 with the opening of Woodlawn Cemetery, which attracted businesses from florist shops to stonecutters to restaurants. An historic resting place, it's one of the Bronx's most unusual tourist stops and certainly the liveliest. Woodlawn Cemetery is located on Webster Avenue and East 233rd Street. Woodlawn is only 30 minutes away from Midtown, but feels like a world away.
And today Woodlawn Cemetery is still a beautiful place to visit, and it's very full of life. And joining me today to tell me about the cemetery past and present is historian Susan Olson and Executive Director of the Friends of Woodlawn Cemetery, Brian Sod. Thank you both for joining me today. This is very exciting.
Thank you for having us.
So I guess we'll start by saying, give us a brief history of Woodlawn Cemetery.
In the 1820s, people were worried about the use of land for smallpox victims, cholera victims. You didn't want people of mysterious illnesses buried in your backyard. And then as real estate became more valuable, cemeteries were not thought of as the best use of land. At the same time period was the rural cemetery movement. There were no parks. Central Park wasn't created yet. So cemeteries became the place where you would go for trees, for art, for fresh air.
Tell us why Woodlawn is a great place to come out and spend a day.
We have art and we have sculptures. It's a nature preserve. It's an arboretum. We have a huge collection of trees, one of the largest in any urban setting.
What is the great history behind those really prominent people that are buried here at Woodlawn?
Well, the joke we always make is Greenwood is where the people who made the money are buried. Where were the people who spent the money? So it's a lot of folks from the Gilded Age, a lot of great Broadway stars during the Harlem Renaissance. It was kind of the Studio 54 of cemeteries, that Woodlawn is where you wanted to be memorialized.
Tell us a little bit more about what the Friends of Woodlawn Cemetery is all about.
Well, the Friends is a nonprofit organization that we provide programming, we have concerts, we have tours, we have authors' talks, other activities.
So I'm really excited to start a tour of this beautiful cemetery, see some great historic sites, and enjoy the natural beauty that's to offer here at Woodlawn.
Well, let's go.
Let's go.
We're in the center of the cemetery. It's about a mile from one end of the cemetery to the other. And we're sort of in the section where we go from the old way of burying to the new way of memorializing, where you'll see lots of big mausoleums. Well, we're at the grave of Elizabeth Cady Stanton. And I would say over time, she's one of the ones that holds up well with school kids doing their book reports. She's one of the leaders of the women's rights movement. She hosts the first convention for women's rights, and she's right here.
See the next location. So things really start looking a little different over here. This is quite an impressive monument. Now, I see the Pulitzer name, which rings a bell.
This is Pulitzer Prize. This is Joseph Pulitzer, who the prize is named after, as well as the School of Journalism at Columbia. He, of course, is known for the New York World. He was a politician, just an incredible guy as far as newspapers go.
With a monument like this, which looks like it has seating in it, would you just stand on the road here and look at it, or could you become slightly more interactive with it?
As far as the design of the memorial, you're supposed to interact. You're supposed to go sit on the benches and read your Bible or read the newspaper. In Pulitzer's case, it shows a Greek man in a toga holding an urn, which is the vessel for the soul. A lot of these figures from classic art emerge in cemeteries. People want to show that they'd traveled somewhere exciting, that they were cultured.
Now, Brian, I know you've had programs at this location. Tell us about one of the events that you did here.
James McGrath Morris just wrote a book, Pulitzer, His Life, and we had him give an author's talk here which celebrated the life of Joseph Pulitzer. Let us show you the largest plot in the cemetery.
Let's go. This area over here looks almost like you're not in a cemetery anymore. It's very vast and open, and
This is the largest single lot in the cemetery. Jay Gould, the skunk of Wall Street, the most hated man in America, at one point wealthier than the nation, buys the biggest lot. It's 30,000 square feet. In its time period, he paid $60,000 for it. Today, you'd pay over $6 million for a lot of this size. But he wanted the most prominent location. And when he built this mausoleum in 1882, it was considered the grandest in the city. And then his favorite trees were beech trees. He plants this weeping beech, which has grown to become one of the great trees of New York.
We have such significant trees. We partnered with the New York Restoration Project and the Mayor's Million Tree Initiative. Over the past few years, we planted about 400 of the million trees. We have many, many, many different people that come here to use the cemetery as an outdoor laboratory, from trees to bird watchers, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, many different groups to use it.
Since you're here for the Irish neighborhood, we'll go and stop at some of our famous Irish folks who are buried here at Woodlawn.
fantastic. Let's go. Tell us where we are now.
The mausoleum of George M. Cohan, who of course is famous for being the man who owned Broadway. And he writes, "Yankee Doodle Dandy, you're a grand old flag over there." Big patriot. Cohan loved everything Tiffany, so the Tiffany Company does the stonework, the bronze work, the windows.
I know there's a jazz section here at the cemetery.
Well, we do have jazz tours.
Tell us about jazz concerts that happen here.
We have several jazz events out here. The Friends will traditionally host a concert and recently had one, but also when monuments are dedicated, the jazz community will come together for a celebration.
Lucky enough to now be inside one of the mausoleums here, and this looks like we're in a mini church.
It's the Belmont Mausoleum, and it is a replica of the Chapel of St. Hubert in Amboise, France. Alva Belmont loved everything French, and so she replicated it in America.
Tell me a little bit more about the public getting a chance to view some of these more beautiful mausoleums.
Well, during the course of our programmatic seasons, we open up and selected a number of these mausoleums to allow the public to appreciate and to enjoy these extraordinary spaces.
Now, there's always neat stuff happening here at Woodlawn Cemetery, from walking tours to even a self-guided audio tour that you could take for $5. Now, if you really want to do it on the cheap, just stop by the office, grab a map, and explore. Now, for more information on Woodlawn Cemetery, check this out. I'm hanging out on Katona Avenue in the Woodlawn section of the Bronx, affectionately referred to as Little Ireland. Now, it's got that fantastic small town feel, but if you're looking for some big Irish flavors, I've got the place for you.
Mary's Celtic Kitchen, located at 4330 Katona Avenue, may seem a bit out of the way, but this little Irish spot should be at the top of your list. Visitors can enjoy a quick Irish breakfast, stew, or the very popular fish and chips. While it caters mostly to locals and takeouts, anyone who stops in is welcome to sit down at the counter and enjoy some authentic Irish fare.
So we're in the back of the kitchen now with owner of Mary's Celtic Kitchen. We know about a lot of the Irish classics, and you're going to show us one of those today, right?
Okay. I'm going to show you how to make shepherd's pie.
Shepherd's pie is about as Irish a meal
Right.
as you could have.
Right, it's one of them.
Okay.
You know, you have fish and chips and stew, but this is one of the main meals you'd have.
Tell me a little bit more about the history of shepherd's pie.
Traditional Irish cooking was a one-pot meal.
There's other Irish favorites.
Irish stew, which is the grandfather of the shepherd's pie.
This came first.
This is chunks of meat.
Right.
You know, this is the chopped meat. And then the traditional fish and chips.
Fish and chips, classic.
Yeah, the cod, you know, homemade potatoes.
And then this last one is...
The Irish breakfast.
Now, not everybody may know what Irish breakfast
Right.
is, so...
You have the Irish bacon, more leaner cut, salty, more like the Canadian bacon. Then you have the Irish sausage, bangers they're known as in this country.
Now, would that typically be a hot sausage, or
No,
is it
it's
just
mild.
like
It's
a
just
sweet sausage?
pure pork.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you have the blood pudding.
It's also considered a sausage, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, we know it as pudding in Ireland.
Right.
Pudding
Here-
in this country is a dessert.
Right.
And then it usually comes with an egg and grilled tomato.
What it really seems like is that all these dishes, the fish and chips,
Right.
the Irish stew, the shepherd's pie, that everything's all in one.
Right.
Get it and go. So you're gonna show us how to make this
Sure.
shepherd's pie.
All right. We're going to start off with our meat. I'm using a mix of a little lamb, like 3/4 of beef, a third of lamb or so.
Okay.
Yeah. Brown the meat for a little while.
If someone didn't want to use lamb, they could use just beef,
Just beef.
and it would
Just beef
come out
is
just
fine.
as delicious.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Sorry, vegetarians. Maybe this dish
Yeah.
isn't quite for you. So that looks like it's browning along nicely.
Do you want to?
Oh, sure. I'd love to.
Then to that, you're going to add carrots, onions, and peas. So into that, just keep stirring
Okay.
as you're going.
I won't stop.
Now you're going to add a little Worcestershire.
Now the Worcestershire sauce really adds.
Yeah, it brings
that-
out the true
yeah, and that-
flavour of the meat. And then you're just adding a little puree into it to give it that, you know, little sweetness as
Okay.
well. Because you have the sweetness in the carrots and some in the peas.
Smells good.
Smells
It
good,
smells
yeah.
good.
Yeah. Into a pan like this.
Okay. Well, that seems easy enough.
You have your mashed potatoes.
So these are regular mashed potatoes
Regular
that you
mashed
prepared
potatoes.
earlier? Okay.
A little butter, milk, and a little egg through it.
It's a
you know?
secret.
That's the secret.
The potatoes got to have
And you
the
just
egg
put
yolk.
on your potatoes like that.
What temperature would you put this in
About
at?
350.
Okay.
You know,
And how long does it have to take?
you have to keep a watch on it because the contents are more or less
Cooked.
cooked.
Okay.
So it's just to brown the top of it that you're doing. See how you get the
So
smells.
nice. You have
yeah.
the meat, the onions, the peas,
Carrots.
and nothing
Yeah.
disappears. You know,
No,
it all
no,
stays
because
nice
you're
and
keeping it all
hearty.
at a uniform cut. Yeah, very good.
Oh, it's
yeah.
really good. It's sweet. It's a little savory from the potatoes,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it's all right there. Can you be my new Irish mom?
No problem.
Can I give you a kiss? Mary's Celtic Kitchen in Woodlawn. If you don't come get this shepherd's pie, they're missing out.
That's right.
Shepherd's pie at Mary's Celtic Kitchen costs $8.50 for a large serving. You can't beat that price, and it is delicious. Now, a great way to work off that shepherd's pie is to head over to Van Cortlandt Park. It's the 4th largest park in New York City, and with everything from hiking to basketball, baseball, and even a museum where George Washington slept a few times, all under the canopy of 80,000 trees.
During the 1800s, an influx of Irish workers were hired to build Van Cortlandt Park's aqueduct and the Croton Reservoir. Van Cortlandt Park, located on Broadway and Van Cortlandt South, boasts over 1,100 acres of steep ridges, hills, and flat open spaces. They were created about 20,000 years ago when New York was once completely buried beneath massive glaciers of ice. Once the ice receded, it left behind the beautiful VC Park and plenty of history too.
So I'm here with Margot Perrin, the parks administrator at Van Cortlandt Park. Margot, thanks for having us. Tell us a little bit about the area that we're in now. I mean, You could step into this area and really feel like you're nowhere close to New York City.
We're actually at the very northern border of New York City, just by Yonkers, and our forests are one of our treasures here. People come to this park for two main reasons. One is for the nature here. Tremendous acreage, tremendous habitat here. We have weekly birding programs. There's chipmunks that just ran by your foot.
I saw one. I did.
There's possum, there's raccoons, and the other is sports.
I know one of the things that you're most passionate about is the new conservancy that has started here at the park.
Yes,
Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm proud to wear my badge.
It's a great one.
Yeah, there's so much that we can do in this park, and we aspire to be similar to the conservancy in Central Park. We're looking to make things better.
These parks can survive, but in order for them to flourish, they really need the additional help of the community.
Oh, absolutely. Parks Department has two main standards that we have to keep for every park, and that is to be safe and clean. And the Conservancy wants to take it even further and raise the standard to making it beautiful, making it a destination for people to come to.
Now we're going to hop in a Parks Department truck and check out some beautiful spots in this park.
Let's go.
All right.
Over at the parade ground and Indian field is where the Palayo and Lenape Indians settled and also searched the forest for nuts, fruits, and edible plants.
Margot, tell us about our first stop here today.
We're at the parade ground. It's 65 acres, and right now we use it for playing fields. Behind me is the house of the Van Cortlandt family. It's the oldest building in the entire Bronx, and George Washington really did sleep there a couple times.
Huh?
Yeah. This is called the parade ground because George Washington brought his troops here. Now it's beautiful green grass. This is a very new renovation, and there's 20 athletic fields here. We're kind of a sports mecca for two sports. Cricket, we've got the most cricket fields in one park, 11 cricket fields, and then cross-country running. If you know a cross-country runner, they know of Van Cortlandt Park. What circles the parade ground is called the Flats, and that's a mile and a half.
Now this new grass, I mean, this looks like really nice shag carpeting.
To experience it fully, you have to take your shoes off.
I'm fair game for anything. Now, being a city boy, I don't experience all that much grass under my feet, but this is incredible. So it's on to the next place?
Yep.
All right, let's go. I'll put these on later.
This is the formal entrance to the park.
Which is, I mean, it's a beautiful sign. This almost is reminiscent of like the Willy Wonka factory or something terrific like that. I think that energizes you going into the park.
We're entering someplace really exciting.
Magical, right?
Yes, yes. We're at the corner of Broadway and Van Cortlandt Park South. I want to show you the monument to the coyotes that sometimes come in the park.
There are coyotes in this park.
Every once in a while, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, they're breeding because we've seen babies.
When was this statue placed here?
About 13 years ago. So around here, we like to do nice landscaping, and we have the roses and also beautiful trees around. And it's just a place where people love to come and picnic and relax.
On to the next spot?
Yep.
Thanks, Margot.
We're in the Chandler Recreation Area. It's a picnic area, just newly renovated. New grills, new tables. There's also these red cans, and people are supposed to put their hot coals in the red cans. There's real problems when people put their hot coals in the garbage can or on the tree roots.
So I guess maybe we'll take a seat after all this long
use
walking
one.
tour. Yeah.
And if the park's natural features and rich history aren't enough to make you forget you're in the Bronx, you can go fishing in Van Cortlandt Lake.
Tell us a little bit more about that lake.
There is wonderful fishing there. It was created by the Van Cortlandt family. Way back when they had their plantation here, they dammed up Tibbetts Brook that was there, and they put a grist mill because they were growing wheat, and they needed the mill to grind the wheat. Creating that dam created the lake. Putnam Railroad used to run right through there up into Westchester. That stopped in the 50s, and since then, we use it as a bicycle trail.
So one of the nice things about visiting Van Cortlandt Park on a budget is you could just look into the history of things.
Absolutely.
The Van Cortlandt family having very deep history here, but beyond that,
We have a memorial to the Stockbridge Indians. There was a big massacre here. So there's a lot of feeling of connection to the past as well as what's going on right here in the present.
Where do we find ourselves now, Margot?
We're at the stadium, Van Cortlandt Stadium. And this was built in 1939. It was completed. And it was a structure put here by Robert Moses. And we love it. It's got nice architectural details to
It's
it.
got great character to it.
It does. It
And
does.
it also seems to be a bustling hub of activity.
Oh, yeah. It's actually a complex here. So we've got 3 baseball fields behind us. We've got a running track behind us with a rubberized track.
Even the backside of the stadium serves a purpose. It's got handball walls on it, which I thought was really neat. And then you have the basketball courts back there.
This is one of the big hubs. Yeah, I think the parade ground is a huge hub. And then here, you've got different kinds of sports all happening.
For more information on Van Cortlandt Park, check out this info. Keeping the heritage alive is definitely a priority here in Little Ireland. And just steps away from Van Cortlandt Park, there's a stadium that brings out the Irish spirit in everyone.
I'm headed to Gaelic Park, located at 4000 Corlier Avenue, adjacent to Van Cortlandt Park. This is where the Irish community proudly keeps their unique sport of Gaelic football alive. Played with a ball much like a volleyball, Gaelic football has been arousing Irish passions for a long, long time. It became popular in Ireland as early as the 16th century. Back then, it was a rather unorganized sport, and competitions weren't between teams, but rather between towns. It's simple. The team with the most goals win. Got that?
I'm here now with Noel Maloney, the vice president of the New York Finest Gaelic Club. Real important day. It's NYPD versus FDNY Gaelic football. Tell me about the matchup.
Well, basically, we play a couple of rival games throughout the year, 2 matches every year. We play against the fire department for charities. Our charity this year happens to be a police officer who was seriously injured. It's not job related, so the money that we make here on any donations that's given to us goes directly to support his issue with his family. The fire department play for their charity, and any game money that's collected at the door gets split between both issues.
When did it get its start here with the NYPD?
Back in 1969, it was started by a couple of guys that played for local teams. They wanted to get together for some camaraderie. They played against sanitation, fire department. Most of our fathers played in those games back in the 60s. We reestablished the team, and we came up with a motto to keep the heritage alive. Keeping the heritage alive, we're getting kids to play football. We're keeping the sport going. It's a great sport from Ireland. We have the charity matches not only against the fire department, but we also play international tournaments. We played against the Police Service in Northern Ireland, London Metro, and the Dublin Garda.
Seems a little like rugby, but I don't know much about soccer, rugby, or Gaelic football, so tell me the differences.
It has a combination of soccer skills, where the guys have to be extremely agile. The goalie has to protect that goal. Similar to soccer, he can come out to a certain area to kick out the ball. The one difference is we can handle the ball in our hands. You can run 3 steps. You have to either punch the ball forward or kick the ball. You can't travel any further than that. That ball then goes hopefully to one of our players who tries to put it up above the uprights. The game is basically played with the uprights over here at 1 point over the bar, 3 inside the goal. It's very action-packed, 15 players on each team. They're allowed to hit each other, not tackle each other. The hits are pretty good.
The idea is the uprights is maybe a bit of an easier goal to get.
Absolutely.
Because there's no goalie up there.
Absolutely.
And it's worth more down below, 3 points.
Yes, one of the issues that we have is with the wind, specifically here in Gaelic Park. So whichever way the wind goes is beneficial to the person who wins the coin toss. Obviously, if the wind gets a little worse for the other guys, kicking those uprights is going to be a lot harder.
I'm here with Peter McCormick, one of the players for the NYPD Gaelic football team. You're not in all your gear, right? You're going to go put on shoulder pads and a helmet and wristbands?
No, we don't wear pads, we don't wear helmets. It's just what you see, we're just going to put on a different jersey. It'll be full contact. A lot of times we have an ambulance standing by because somebody's getting inadvertently hit with a bloody lip or a broken shoulder.
Tell us why games like this are so important for the club.
All the Irish that came over, and certainly second generation, third generation, it's about keeping the heritage. As you listen to that music, gets the old goosebumps going.
Yeah. Little Ireland here in the Bronx is such an important, vital Irish community in the city. Tell me how the Gaelic football field and plays into the area.
Gaelic football is very special to the Irish. It's our way of getting out. It's our way of taking out aggression. It's a very quick game. People come out wearing their county jerseys. As tonight, I'm wearing my NYPD to support that team. Everybody enjoys the match.
Well, Noel, I have to put you up to it. Who's going to win tonight?
The NYPD, no doubt, absolutely.
Noel, thanks for having us so much.
How many miles are